Hello guys and welcome back to another video. This is Cebu Life and today we will be reviewing the Romoss Sense 6P power bank. Let's get right to it. This is a 20,000 mAh power bank and is relatively heavy and big. As you can see, its size compared to a AAA battery, this power bank is fairly large. Up top there is an LCD display to indicate the remaining charge of the power bank. There are two USB output ports. One of the ports output 1 ampere and the second one can output up to 2.1 amperes for charging iPads or tablets. The same area also holds the micro USB charging port. On the side, there is a button that wakes up the power bank and shows its remaining charge. There is no off button on this power bank as the power bank shuts itself off after a minute if no device is connected and charging. Let's go through the specs at the back quickly. As mentioned, the capacity is 20,000 mAh with a rated energy of 74 watt-hours. The rated energy is actually a good measure for power banks as the capacity indicated is actually based off of the 18650 cells inside, which are rated at 3.7 volts. When charging, however, devices can actually draw 5 volts. We'll talk about this rating later. As for the USB ports, it shows that the total combined output of both ports is 2.1 amps. One of the more prominent features of this power bank is the presence of the LCD display. Pressing the button on the side wakes up the power bank and shows you the remaining charge of the power bank. Other power banks only have 4 LEDs to indicate 100, 75, 50, or 25% charge left. The LCD display on this power bank will give you a better representation of its remaining charge. Now on the topic of charging. This power bank has a rated input of 5 volts 2 amps. Let's see if the power bank can actually draw that amount. I have here a 2 amp quick charge from Samsung. First, let us test if the charger could actually provide 5 volts at 2 amps by using this dummy load. As you can see, the charger is now outputting around 5 volts. Right now, the dummy load is set to 1 amp and is drawing pretty close at 0.98 amps. Setting it to 2 amps shows that the charger could provide, or the dummy load is drawing 5.34 volts at 1.98 amps. Now let's connect the power bank. As it appears, the power bank is now drawing 5 volts at 1 amp. This is below the indicated input rating of 2 amps. This is important because a power bank this capacity could take a long time to charge, the lower the current it could draw. At 1 amp, it could take from 12 hours to 20 hours to fully charge the power bank depending on its remaining charge. Let's now test the USB input ports and see if it could provide the rated outputs. We will test the output using my USB meter and this dummy load. It's currently set to 1 amp. Let's plug it into the 1 amp port first. It's now drawing 4.9 volts at 0.9 amps. I would say this port is capable of providing its rated output. Let's now plug the load into the 2.1 amp port and see the numbers. Switching the load to 2 amps shows 4.94 volts at 1.84 amps, which is pretty close to its rated output, so I'd say it's pretty accurate. One thing I did notice is that both ports could actually output 2 amps. Right now, the load is plugged into the 2.1 amp port. I'm going to move the 2 amp load to the 1 amp port still set at 2 amps, and see how much the 1 amp port could provide. And as you can see, it's outputting about the same numbers, which means that both ports could actually output 2 amps. So, plugging in an iPad or a tablet on either port means that the device will charge close or around its 2 amp input. You have to take note that the total combined output of both ports is only at 2.1 amps, which means that if you plug in a tablet and a mobile phone at the same time, the tablet will not be able to draw or charge at the full 2 amps and vice versa. Now comes the final test. Let us see if the power bank has a real capacity of 20,000 milliamp hours. To test that, I have fully charged the power bank and will now be totally draining it using this dummy load. I have set the load to 1 amp as mobile phones usually draw 1 amp when charging. The power bank is now fully drained. Let us now take a look at the numbers. As stated in the specs, this power bank has a rated energy of 74 watt-hours. Watt-hours would be a better measure of a power bank as it takes into account voltage. Power banks are really just a pack of 18650 cells. These cells are rated at 3.7 volts and the 20,000 milliamp hours capacity is based off the total capacity of those cells. Since we will be drawing 5 volts through the USB ports, we will need to use the same unit of measure for more accurate comparison. Volts times amps equals watts. So, to get 74 watt-hours, we simply multiplied 3.7 volts by 20,000 milliamp hours and then divide the product by 1000. So, 3.7 volts multiplied by 20,000 milliamp hours and then divided by 1000 gives us 74 watt-hours. During testing, the load was drawing 4.95 volts and shows it was able to draw a total of 11,979 milliamp hours. 4.95 volts multiplied by 11,979 milliamp hours divided by 1000 rounds off to 59.3 watt-hours. 59.3 watt-hours is actually about 80% of the power bank's rated energy of 74 watt-hours. This is generally good as no power bank can deliver 100% efficiency. There is loss involved when converting the 3.5 volts provided by the 18650 lithium cells to 5 volts for output on the USB ports. So, I would say this is a good but not great true rated power bank. In comparison, Xiaomi states that their 16,000 milliamp hour power bank could actually provide 93% conversion rate, which is amazing. I would love to test their power banks if I could get hand on one. If you like this video, please click on thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please click on subscribe button as we upload new videos every week. See you on the next one.